praise. Who is worthy? Remember what was supposed to? The purpose. Who is worthy? That's very good. As they watched Jesus' disciples prepare the colt and watched the procession get underway, many, a very large crowd, I had to read this to you, according to Matthew, joined in the exuberance of the moment, to borrow a contemporary catchphrase popularized via the internet. The event quickly went viral. So you see. Okay, we better go on to 9, 10, and 11. Somebody go ahead and finish reading that.
Then those who went ahead and those who followed were shouting, Hosanna! Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the coming kingdom of our ancestor David. Hosanna in the highest heaven. Then he entered Jerusalem and went into the temple. And when he looked around at everything, it was already late. He went out to Bethany with the 12.
And our key verse, Hosanna, blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Anyone have anything to say about that before I... Hosanna. This is consistently misunderstood. It is misquoted and used if it meant praise. Is that what we all think that means? Praise? Well, that has become what we have, because it was interpreted from Hebrew to Greek and became more praise. But actual meaning of Hosanna was save now. It occurs exactly in the same form in 2 Samuel, 2 Kings, where it is used by the people seeking for help and protection at the hands of the king. So, when the people shouted Hosanna, it was not a cry of praise to Jesus, which it often sounds like when we quote it. It was a cry to God to break in and save his people, now that the Messiah had come. No incident so shows the sheer courage of Jesus as this does. In the circumstances, one might have expected him to enter Jerusalem secretly and to keep hidden from the authorities who were out to destroy him. But no, Jesus did not do that. There again, he's so worthy of our praise. Instead, he entered in such a way that the attention of every eye was focused upon him. And you could imagine all these people. And there was a little ad lib in there. One of the most dangerous things that anyone can do is to go to people, I'm sure you've experienced this, and tell them that all their accepted ideas are wrong. Have you ever done that? Yeah. Anyone who tries to tear up the roots of people's nationalistic dream is in trouble. But that is what Jesus was deliberately doing. Here we see Jesus making the last appeal of love and making it with courage that is heroic. And then, blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. There are 3 things to note about this shout. It was a regular greeting with the pilgrim, which the pilgrims were addressed when they reached the temple on the occasion of great feasts. So this had always been done. The one who comes was another name for the Messiah. When Jews spoke about the Messiah, and they had talked about the Messiah, this was not the Messiah to them, of course. But when they talked about the Messiah, they talked of him as the one who is coming. And then in verse 11, this simple verse shows us 2 things about Jesus which is typical of him. It shows Jesus deliberately summing up his task. The whole atmosphere of the last days was one of deliberation. Not recklessly plunging into unknown dangers. Evidently, he had realized this and he knew where he was headed. He was doing everything with his eyes wide open. When he looked around, everything, he was like a commander summing up the strength of the opposition and his own resources preparatory to the decisive battle. It shows us where Jesus got his strength. He went back to his peace of Bethany. Before he joined battle with the world, he sought the presence of God. It was only because each day he faced that he could face the world's challenge with such courage. What do we do each day that helps you face the day, and especially the days of challenge? Do you begin with something like this? With this? I hope so. That's what Jesus did. This brief passage also shows us something about the 12. They were still with him. By this time, it must have been quite plain to them that Jesus was committing suicide. They still probably had this blindness, as it seemed to them. Sometimes we criticize them for their lack of loyalty in the last days, but it says something for them, that little as they understood what was happening, they still stood by him. And that is a lot of the meaning of this. I don't think I have time to go into this writer's, controversy about trading Palm Sunday talk of a triumphal entry for the triumphal exit talk of Good Friday. I visited with Pastor Larry about that a minute, and that became gloriously apparent on Easter morning, and that would probably be another whole lesson in discussion. But I think it's okay as it is, as far as I'm thinking. And what was the enemy Jesus came to destroy?
Sin.
Sin. Not the Roman soldiers. No, he came with weakness. But the enemy of all humankind, sin and death. And how do we prepare for worship and praise? And do any of you help in any way? How do you prepare? There's a lot of things here. And I'm about ready, in case somebody's timing me. I'm about ready to end. But I do want you to keep this in mind. Do any of you turn on the lights? Somebody turns on the lights. The thermostat. Does anybody, who does the pyramids? Anybody know? Somebody does. I don't know if it's our ministers at home. When I worked for the Presbyterians, that was part of mine, was to make sure they changed. I had that calendar right in front of me, and I had to make sure they were all the right color to change it. So that was part of my job. Lighting the candles. Preparing the communion table. The organ prelude. And folks, when he hits those keys, that's supposed to be our time, and I'm as guilty as anyone, to sit and prepare ourselves. And I know it isn't done. But every attempt to get ready for worship is an act of obedience to the Jesus who journeys toward us in saving and renewing power. Now, with that, anybody got any other questions? Okay, let's turn to, because we need to be done. Let's turn to the last page, 54. So just who or what is worship, exuberant praise, and our passionate worship? The church has an answer to this question as she points the world in her worship to Jesus, the one who not only traveled into Jerusalem and toward Golgotha, but who traveled all the way from heaven to earth